What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Leave It to the Judges MMA show. I'm with the boys, as always, Nick and Xavier. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about MVP MMA 1 on Netflix. Quick little recap. Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano went down. Diaz versus Perry and Ngannou versus Lenz. Probably going to talk about those three fights mainly. But first of all, guys, what did you think about the overall production? It seemed very high scale. Jake Paul and MVP, they made it pretty clear their message is to compete with the UFC, another avenue for MMA fighters and fans. How do you guys think they did on a scale, let's say 1 to 5, on their MMA promotional debut?
I would have to give it a 5 in terms of like the production value of it all. Um, I didn't have any problems with the Netflix stream, which has not always been the case with the Netflix streamed events, such as like big boxing events and shit. Like sometimes those streams are really wonky. I thought that the stream held up pretty nicely. Um, I thought that they called it what, the hexagon. There was a hexagon on some bullshit. Like instead of they removed two sides from the fucking cage and just like on some weird different shit. Like big whoop, you know what I mean? It made no difference in there to me. Um, but I thought that like even like the little mat with all like the sponsors and shit. Like it looked cool, man. I thought that the cameras were pretty HD. Like I was seeing Diaz fucked up in high definition. And overall, I just thought that the presentation was good, man. Now the talent, like, are we rating the talent of the card, or are we just rating like just how it looked and how it felt?
Yeah, we'll get to the talent and fights after.
Yeah, because I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 just in the production value. But like once we start talking about like quality of MMA, then there's a significant drop off there.
I also thought it was very good production. I don't know if I'd credit Jake Paul more about that or Netflix, but I thought I thought it was good. Camera angles, all that good stuff, the walkouts. It went smoothly, so it was definitely like a 5. I mean, it was great. I thought it combined like boxing and MMA kind of walkouts and production value and stuff like that. Uh, so I thought it was good, and we'll get into the tail end because it was dog water for sure. But for the debut, was this? Yeah, it was the first MMA card that they put on. Pretty good overall, I thought.
And they said they're here to stay. This isn't just a one-off event. So I think that's pretty cool. They should do maybe a couple of these a year, try to up the talent. Because yeah, I agree with you guys. I feel like they got the production and all that side down. But let's get into these fights, man. We'll start at the top because there's not much to talk about this fight. Ronda Rousey, I believe in I don't 11 17 seconds, something like
17,
that.
17, I think.
Yeah. Takes down an armbars Gina Carano. Now I don't think any of us here were expecting a masterclass women's MMA fight here, but we didn't really get anything. I'll just leave the floor open. What did you guys think about the main event?
Coolest part about it was seeing Big John back in there, man. Like that shit was sick. When I seen
This
them like
stream.
doing a little last minute checkups before they get into the cage, I was like, fuck, man. Like it just brought me back, you know what I mean? Seeing him in there. The whole thing felt very nostalgic. Um, and I guess like it was kind of coasting on that, right? Like even to a certain extent, I don't want to call Francis Ngannou a nostalgia act just because he's like out of the UFC and shit. But he kind of is like in terms of UFC comp, even though he's been competing in boxing and that one PFL fight, but like for all intensive purposes in the UFC world, he is a nostalgia act. So he kind of fit the bill as well. And I mean, Mike Perry, Diaz, like Gina Carano, Ronda Rousey, like I don't want to. I honestly don't want to put Ronda Rousey in this like same category as everybody else. But these are like for the most part people that were fan favorite, mid tier level UFC fighters, um, like skill wise and shit. Anyway, um, and the nostalgia vibes were kind of what we were coasting on here. And I think that we all kind of knew that in some respects. You know what I mean? Like you said, Uh, we didn't expect this to be like some masterclass of women's MMA. We kind of understood like what this really was. And honestly, I think that this, nostalgia tour, nostalgia act, freak show that kind of was the main, top of the billing here. Um, could kind of pave the way, hopefully, for like more actually really young, talented, or even middle, like not old, but like normal age, in their 30s, in their primes, kind of fighters that just aren't in the UFC to kind of like come over here and really get a shine. Because I think that this could be better than it could be better than PFL. You know what I mean in terms of secondary competition to the UFC. Um, but honestly, it's gonna take a long, long time for them to build up a talent base that is not just UFC rejects. You know what I mean? And coaching off their names. Um, like more than likely, like I think Francis Ngannou is probably gonna fight. They're trying to have like a card at the end of the year. It's probably gonna be like Robelis Despain versus Ngannou. You know what I mean? Like, and Robelis Despain could not win a fucking fight in the UFC. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, but like we're gonna have to build it up. Like, oh shit, like you know what I mean? It's just like that's the kind of crop of talent that they're kind of working with right now. It's just kind of UFC rejects. Every once in a while, they might get a Makayev if he can actually fucking show up to fight ever. I'll shut up Makayev. I fuck with him, but like him not seeing him here was a fucking bummer. It was one of the things I was more so looking forward to from this card, from a pure like MMA standpoint. But yeah, I think that if they can keep the lights on in this bitch. I don't know how much money that they're eating on this kind of stuff. I don't know how much they're paying these people, but I mean, obviously the Legends thing is not sustainable. So at some point they're gonna have to, you know, get some actual up and coming talent and shit, and pay them kind of well to prevent them from going to the UFC. So I think that this was a good stepping stone, but like they're gonna have to do some more work in the recruiting department if they want this to be like a long term sustainable business plan.
Mm, I was not very excited for this card whatsoever, to be honest. I saw the names and I was like, old, older, oldest. I mean, it was all over the place like that. Um, but I actually figured the main event was going to be a little better than what it actually was. I mean, not
I don't
much
know
to
why.
talk about.
I don't know why you thought that.
Well, I thought at least, I mean, well, it lasted 17 seconds. Like, I was expecting at least like old woman versus old woman would give us somewhat of most of the first round there. Like, I figured Ronda Rousey would win this fight, just the better fighter overall. But I would never have imagined Miss Serrano. We didn't work on takedown defense. We didn't work on clasping the hands to avoid like her signature. Like she always does the armbar. Like we're not planning for that or anything. It seemed like she didn't train for this fight, to be honest. Felt like she did a bunch of cardio days from the looks of it. Like it was just it was bad. Like it lasted 17 seconds. There's not much else to go off. At least if it would have been a KO, it would have been cooler. But it was just like Ronda kind of just did her old thing. It was great to see John in there though. I'm sure Jake Paul's paying him a bunch of money to be there, so it was cool seeing him again. I don't know how many he'll do though, but definitely nostalgic. The main event though was just it was what it was. It was basically garbage, honestly. I mean, there were better fights through. It was probably the worst fight of the night if I'd have to go down the list here. I mean, it had to be. So main event disappointing. Production great though, but yeah, to get the talent, they're just gonna have to scoop up, younger fighters who are up and comers and find a way, or up and comers with not the best records. and like sign them and make them into stars more. They're gonna have to do their own thing. I've always said like competing with the UFC, it just won't like do your own thing. I don't think Jake Paul should be trying to compete with the UFC because they ran Bellator out the building, and that was a very good organization. We were well established. Actually had good fighters in there, like no, for the most part. And I think they should just do their own thing. But they got to sign younger fighters. I mean, like this is like GFL Part Two here, or GPL, whatever that shit was that didn't get off
Yeah.
the ground day one. It's kind of like that vibe. So hopefully they get younger fighters, but
The
maybe
thing
that's
is, the thing is, like, when all these companies try to compete with the UFC, become an alternative to the UFC, and their first move is to sign a bunch of UFC rejects and washouts and fucking old heads that have their name because of the UFC. It's like the UFC is just like laughing at them because it's like, yeah, and Dana can easily be like, I'm happy for those guys over there, because they couldn't hack it around here anymore. And everyone really knows that in their heart. I think that I agree with you 100% that, like, do your own thing, like, get your own prospects and just try to build them up or whatever. Like, kind of like how Zuffa boxing is right now, where it's like records don't really matter. Just come in here and, like, we'll just see what you do here. It'll give you an opportunity. Like, do that shit. Sign some exciting brawlers at first. Like, fuck. Even if, like, let's say, like, your goal is not to fucking put on the most technical, skilled battles, but it's like, damn, you put a bunch of fucking Mike Perry types in there and then like damn, it's just a bunch of bloodbath brawls all night, kind of like BKFC type vibes. And it's like damn, like now you build yourself an audience, and then if someone can like rise to the crop, like fuck, and actually be talented, great. But I think that like they do need to focus on just putting on entertaining fights instead of like coasting off the name value of you know old UFC fighters because at the end of the day, like they have to pay these old heads a fat bag and like then they're like they go bankrupt all these damn companies because they're like it's not a sustainable business model to just pay old heads just to have shitty fights. Like maybe people will tune in once or twice, but if you want them to keep coming back, you have to give them something to come back for. And I just think that bloody scraps could just be the way. Like fuck it, at least for a while.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. They really tries to squeeze the juice really hard out of every lemon, every UFC lemon they get. They'll squeeze it out to the bone. My only exceptions are there are two names that I genuinely really cared about on this card, those being Ngannou and Makayev, just because those are still legit, not washed names at all. Those both of those guys have a case. Not saying it's true. They have a case to be the best in the world in their division. If they can get UFC guys like that at the end of their contracts, people that aren't happy with their pay, if you could pry those guys from the UFC, I love that. But again, that is just so hard. And prying these like old washed guys or people that are struggling middle of the pack, as hardcore MMA fans, we can't get hyped for that. I can't imagine what the casual audience is thinking about that.
I mean, honestly, like if these fighters don't have any real aspirations for themselves, but it's beyond just like financial gain and shit, like it does make sense. For example, like fighters like Ryan Bader and Corey Anderson, for example, like they went over to Bellator and like probably got paid a bag, and like Corey Anderson was probably a lightweight, I mean a light heavyweight contender ish. You know what I mean? Where he was kind of like ranked like I think like top 10, I think like maybe like 8 or like 6 or something like that when he like left the UFC. Um, and they went over there and made money and shit. But the problem is like I don't respect it as a fight fan watching you go over and become the champion of some shit organization when like I know you're talented and like you kind of ran from the grind, it seems like, even though like obviously like money is important and I think that if you offer most people enough money, the right number, they're gonna, say fuck my principles. But like it's just a bad look when like these guys like that. when it feels like they can't hack it. For example, like a Makayev is a little different. Um, he left the UFC just because of like purely political reasons, and we kind of know for a fact he is one of the best in the world. Um, but like some of these guys, like even like I think what was it, Gegard Mousasi, like he came over from the UFC and went crazy in Bellator for a while, and that was fucking sick. But like I was still thinking the whole time, like man, I would love to see Mousasi against like the UFC comp, you know, like so it's always gonna be a little bittersweet, but I don't hate that plan of like at least if guys are disgruntled or like if they just have a falling out with the UFC, like fuck it, like I'm down for that.
Because like during the broadcast after Displays, he got a nice knockout over JDS. It was kind of fucked up to watch, but like and after the Ngannou fight, they're trying to sell us so hard on Displays versus Ngannou. That's what's next. That's gonna headline a card. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking like Displays was getting like embarrassed in the UFC. Like I want to get hyped for it. I want to get hyped for an Ngannou fight, but like it's just hard.
It is hard, man.
But we'll tune in because we are the hardcore fans. But let's move on to this co-main. Oh my God, an absolute mauling. Apparently, Nate might have number two his parents. We can't confirm that. But Michael Perry gets the corner stoppage via cut, kind of reminiscent of the Jorge Masvidal fight. An absolute beating by Nate Diaz. Mike Perry looked jacked in there. What do you guys want to see from each of these guys going forward?
I mean, bro, I would hate to like Nate needs to sit his ass down, bro. Fuck, bro.
I
I
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I tried to dance around it or like do anything, but like fuck, bro. Like after what I've been seeing, bro, the CTE is just too much at this point. Like he doesn't even eat a shot the same. Um, Shots were freezing his ass, and like he turned away multiple times, and like wow, he always kind of did that in his career, like did that little walk off move, like, and somehow it just felt different now. It just felt like I genuinely don't want to turn back around and fight. He was like lean to the side and just kind of like holding against the cage and just like it
He
was
did that like 15
like
times.
15 times. Like it was just like all kinds of moves that just showed me the piss poor body language. And granted, like if he did shit his pants, like I don't fault him, bro. Because I'm not gonna lie, I think that even a couple years ago, Diaz, if you take him, even like not even him at his best, but like just a couple years ago, um, he would have beat Mike Perry in MMA. I mean, Perry was slowing down significantly, huffing and puffing, damn near putting his hands down, standing right in front of Nate, throwing a hard punch, sometimes landing it, sometimes not landing it. And like he was like wing punches missing. Nate, like I felt like letting him off the hook because I'm like a couple more and this fight's fucking over. But like he didn't even have the energy to really like connect. And Diaz was damn near standing right in front of him, like not really doing shit, but like the barest minimum to get out of the way of these punches. Um, and I just felt like a fighter that tired who kind of blew their wad and like was now just kind of standing in front of Nate, gas. Like that's the kind of fighter that like a prime Nate Diaz would have feasted on. You know what I mean? Like he did it to Connor, and I mean Connor's always been way leagues better than Mike Perry. So I mean, I just thought like, damn, like he has a chance here to like win this fight actually down the stretch, and like he actually like quit on the. I mean, he didn't quit on the stool, but like his corner stopped it on the stool, whatever. That does kind of lead me to believe that he might have shit himself, just because like I thought that Diaz started to land pretty decent shots off Perry, like going into that corner stoppage, like, and it was all just purely because no one's head was moving. They were just rock'em sock'em robotsing, bro, and like. I just know that if he had any kind of cardio or trained at all or wasn't old as fuck, like he would have won that fight. Or at least it would have been more interesting. But I mean, because of how bad he looks, like I just think it's over for him, bro. I know he said that he wants to come back and have the rematch. And the only way like I want to see that is if he admits he shot himself. If he says, "Bro, I shot my fucking self, bro," then
I don't
like I'm
know.
like, "Well, fuck, you gotta run it back now," you know. But if he's not willing to like admit that that was the problem, then it's over for you, bro. I don't want to see him fight anymore, just for his own sake. I love him to death, but he's giving me a lot of happy memories as an MMA fan. But it's time, bro. Watching my watching these guys get beat up on, like, it's just not fun, to be honest. It's kind of sad, and it really does like put a mirror on like what we're really doing is like with this sport is like watching people like kind of kill themselves or like you know get brain damage to a large extent, and it's like when people are in their prime and when the guys get out in the normal time span and don't take too much damage and shit, it's fine. But like when they do this shit and just do these old man freak shows and just keep taking CTE, and they've been a kind of hittable fighter their whole career who've relied on their chin, and now it's like their chin is like kind of fucked. It's just sad to watch, to be honest. So I want Nate to be done and just like enjoy the money and enjoy the vibes, bro. Smoke your weed and chill, bro.
I want Nate to retire, 100%. Um, I was well, I'm not surprised he's still fighting because he just loves to do it. But bro, I was watching like interviews the other day of him speaking when he was younger, or even during the Connor times, and it was just fluent words coming out, and it's like now it's like mumble mumble mumble, like just a lot of mumbling. Like you could just tell the man has been through wars on wars because he's just breaking down, and that's what happened in this fight. Now I will say I'm surprised Mike Perry looked kind of shit too. I mean, he obviously beat the crap out of Nate, but just because I think Nate's just more worn down and like, but Perry was like huffing and puffing at times. I'm like, man, get a decent UFC, get an average UFC fighter out there beats the shit out of Mike Perry probably that night. But he was just ripping to the body. Nate, he could not take like anything basically. Like I'm surprised he even lasted as long as he did. You know, he was aching over every body shot, and he was trying to just kind of wrap him up the whole time. I think he was probably looking for takedowns was the game plan from his side, but he couldn't get Mike down, and they were clinched up a lot, and Mike would just kind of pound him in there. And Nate really like doesn't even have enough sting on the punches. Like Nate was over the hill versus Leon and looked like shit in that fight, but at least he got the one late punch off that wobbled Leon back and whatnot. But I don't even see that now, especially what was like Nate was just throwing that jab, and I'm like, oh man, this got no mustard on it. This is not good. And the longer it went, I mean, they stopped in the corner. I thought it was a good. Even Nate said it was a good decision to stop it. So I mean,
Does he shit himself?
yeah, it's possible. I have no idea.
No,
There was no evidence on the cage to suggest that.
no
Uh,
skid marks.
yeah, so I don't know, but it's definitely possible. Uh, but Nate should retire. I don't want to see this man just get like he'll just get beat up from now on unless they give him like a grappler at least, where you just know they can throw hard shots. Like that's the only way. Like honestly, I think Nate would easily beat someone like Crone Gracie if they ever fought. To be honest, so if it's a fight like that, then fine. But like, there's no reason to put him in there against like the BKFC fighters of the world who are just gonna like bang him out every time now, probably. So.
Oh God, do not go to BKFC, Nate, please.
Yeah, or like, but he loves these kind of fights and like matchups, but like it's just over, bro. Like there is times when I want fighters to retire so bad because it's such a hard to watch, and we just know that's gonna happen to them too, but they're like too proud to admit it. It's like, man, Nate, you made enough money in this sport for like a 500 record, basically.
Facts.
Just go off, man. I'm sure you could build a gym and train someone there. So, I mean, yeah, he needs to retire. for sure.
Yeah, I used that lemon analogy earlier, and that's like the definition of Nate Diaz's career right now. Like they are just milking this guy, and it's really unfortunate. It gets kind of I don't want to be over dramatic, but it gets a little dark at some points. Like, oh, he's this like in all the marketing to build up this gangster. Look at what he used to do in the UFC, Stockton, all this, and then he's like mumbling like in every interview, and then he gets his ass beat. He's not just losing; he's getting fucked up. He's been getting fucked up like that. Whenever Nate Diaz loses, it's a violent loss, and we care about him. I think it's done, man. Nate, it's all good, bro. Go to RAF, go do jujitsu tournaments. You're really good on the ground. I don't know. That's my thoughts. All right, though, guys, let's move on to this featured fight at night. Apparently, there were three main events. That's also how they were marketing it. I did not like that at all. They were saying on the broadcast,
Yeah.
our first main event, our second main event of the night. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Uh,
But no, they're trying to be different again. But Francis Ngannou knocks out Felipe Lenz in the first round, I believe. Shout out Lenz. He actually tried out there, which I respect. He was severely out matched and outsized in there. Before we get into what actually happened in the fight, I think Ngannou should be MVP's MVP. Like this should be their Connor. This is your guy. This is your face, Francis Ngannou. I don't think his like his image at all has really been hurt. Like from that Anthony Joshua loss, he almost beat Tyson Fury. He's still a huge name. Like I said earlier, he has a case to be the best heavyweight on the planet. We really don't know. Obviously, we would love to see him in the UFC, but I think they should just farm Ngannou fights. Just put guys in front of him and maybe one day they'll come across a big heavyweight matchup for him. Might be John.
the thing is, like, as much as like he is their biggest in the prime, I guess, star, and I don't even know if he's in the prime anymore because of the guys he's fighting, to be honest. It's kind of hard to tell against like the measuring sticks that he's kind of had. But the thing is, like, damn, what do you do? Like, run a Rosenstrike fight back? Like what? He's a free agent. Like, fuck, you wanna get the corpse of fucking Alistair Overeem and like fucking, I don't even know what you do. Like, you see what happened to JDS. Like, you can't even beat Robellis. Like, you're gonna put Robellis in there and like, and Ngannou's gonna take him down and fucking beat the fuck out of him, kill him on the ground. Like, I just don't know, man. Like, the talent is, he needs to fucking go to the UFC and he can't do that. And it's sickening because it's like, I just want to see him against fight some competition. Like, I don't want to see just a fucking squash match to use a WWE analogy like every time. Like, at some point, these squash matches have to build to something. And like, I know John Jones talked about like, the possibility of maybe like if the UFC could like let him out of his contract and maybe like MVP could like pay off the difference of his contract or whatever. I know that they would probably do that, like depending, but I mean the UFC wouldn't. You know what I mean? I'm sure that they would throw a crazy amount of money to get John Ngannou. That would be like the one thing that could give their organization permanent kind of credibility. But at the end of the day, like I really don't think that Dana's gonna do that, and I think that Dana would rather just like say fuck you to Ngannou long term, by just kind of hoarding all the heavyweight talent and like, you know, making sure that like anyone that he does fight is like their name is pretty tarnished. I feel like Dana's pretty good at that. Like he usually, if he lets a guy go, he will kind of shit on them on the way out to like kind of diminish their star power. I was just thinking about this. What about Ngannou, Jailton, Almeida, bro? Fuck it. Fuck it, bro. Like I would rather see that than Robelis Despain. At least it's like a grappling, threat. What do you guys
I
think of
don't,
that?
I don't hate that. He is fresh out of the UFC, and I think maybe he still has a lot of hype. But I mean, before you go, Nick, Xavier, you basically nailed it. It's just like the competition. Like I said, they're building up Robus Displays. That's his next fight. And like I said, I want to get hype about it. Once upon a time, I was very excited about Robellis Displays, but he's just not. He's not at that level anymore. What do you think, Nick?
Never was at that level. He just can't stop a takedown and save his life. And his cardio shit. Like it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, never was at that level.
Facts.
Uh, Felipe Lins, I actually rate him. I think he's like a solid fighter. I know for a fact though he was moving from like light heavyweight, heavyweight back down. Like so he was going there in as a smaller heavyweight for sure. So not surprised by the result. Um, I agree. They got to make Francis their star at least because on this whole card, outside of him and I would say Morales would be a name they should keep. They're the only two like I feel like somewhat in their prime here, and that you can market around like good with good fights. But I don't know where they find those right now. They're gonna have to be like UFC rejects probably and older fighters, at least right now. And I mean, you can definitely sell tickets on that. I don't think it gets the big buzz. Even though as great as Francis is, I don't know if he would win today in the top five of heavyweight in the UFC. Just off age with me, he's like 38 or something. But I do think he can still crack anybody for sure. So I think you gotta try to make him the star. I don't know how they do that though. Robus Swains, he's got one punch in him, and if it doesn't land, the rest of that fight's gonna be god awful. So they should not be pushing that forward. I think they should push forward. I like the Almeida idea a lot. I like that idea. I don't know who else would be out there to go and get um, that I could think of. I mean, you could do Rosenstruck, I guess. I mean,
I
I wouldn't be interested to be honest, but it would be more interesting than Despain's. That's all I gotta say.
and I totally forgot like him and Rosenstrike already fought. Like it would be a rematch. But Nick, you harped on a little. It was gonna be my next question. Hypothetically, don't worry about so much of matchups right now. If we put Francis Ngannou in the UFC, he is the blank best heavyweight in the world. Would you guys? Where would you just plot him?
I mean, I kind of don't really agree with you, Clark, that he wouldn't do well today. I think he kind of fucks a lot of these guys up too, to be honest. I can't say that he wouldn't be the champ. I mean, once John Jones is removed, I mean, you have to think like, what is the next heavyweight fight really? What was the last heavyweight fight? It featured Gon, who was winning. I mean, he Russell fucked Gon. And from what we just seen against Gon and Volkov, like, yeah, he broke his toe or whatever, but like for the most part, it didn't look like Gon's um grappling defense had improved all that much at that like in that fight. So I mean, I just don't see a world where like, especially because Francis has kind of gotten way more on his wrestling shit as he's like matured in his career. He's kind of realized like, if I can just take people down, I can stay safe and like no Diddy, but like pound them out. You know what I mean? And just TKO them that way. That's what he did in PFL. Um, and I mean, for all of the time away from the cage, he spent a lot of that time actually boxing and fighting some of the best boxers, heavyweight boxers, of this generation, and Joshua and Fury. And I mean, he did really well against Fury. Not so much against Joshua, but I mean, still he trained for that shit and like fought those fights. And for a fighter that like his biggest gripe or his biggest concern has always been his skills. You know what I mean? For the longest, he was just winging crazy shit and just like when he landed, it was just over. You know what I mean? He's only gotten more technical as he's gotten older. So I think that he could be at his best now, potentially even. I could see him being the best heavyweight besides John Jones. I obviously think John Jones would fuck him up, but I could see him beating any of these guys, to be honest.
Oh, I think he'll do well against because we know where heavyweights at right now. I
At
would at
wor
least
at
be
worst, I would say he's number two.
Okay.
Like at worst,
I just think like the three, Tom Aspel gone. I know he beat Gone, but I think in a rematch, like he was piecing him up like the first fight. And my problem with Ngannou, I think, always has been And I know like the cardio has wing and wanged in some of his fights. I just feel like in a 5 round fight, I don't trust him if he doesn't find that punch to like go five very successfully. I still I haven't seen it really. Like outside of the Tyson Fury fight, the only one, but they fight what was it, 2 minute rounds? Whatever they fight, like I think he would knock out a lot of these guys, like Spivak. I think unfortunately Blades would probably get KO'd.
again.
Yeah. Uh Kunaev would be kind of interesting. He'd probably get KO'd, but I haven't seen him get super stung yet.
They're all fucked,
That'd
Klaus.
be a
Yeah.
fun one.
But I think like Alex Pahea, the man himself,
That'd be
I
such a
That's
sick fight.
interesting. That I mean, Alex, I would say like that's a dream fight. I would say Aspinall. He has some trouble with Aspinall. Gone, but that's where it stops to me. Maybe Waldo on some technical shit, like
That'd be
just.
a fun one too. Yeah.
But like, oh, maybe Josh Hockett too. Fuck,
yeah.
That'd be a
Hockett
On
ranked five.
cardio. Just on cardio.
But honestly, I think that like he probably would fuck Hockett up though, based on what I've seen, because
oh, he'd sleep him, but it'd be a sick
Hockett's
fight.
way too hittable. He's way too hittable, and I think that like, and he's way too small. I think I could see Ngannou fucking him up, but I could also see like if he can, survive early, I could see Hackett, doing basically what Stipe did to him in their first fight and just like beating the fuck out of him with wrestling and shit, just chain wrestling, beating him up, like sapping the gas tank entirely. Because the gas tank might have gotten worse as he's gotten older, and it never was always his strong suit. So that's the one thing that like could be, we don't know, but like we will never know if he keeps flatlining cans in round one. Is the point? So
Yeah, it sucks, but I mean, I'm just gonna go on a limb here. He's never gonna be in the UFC again, and I just feel like that bridge has completely been burned. I'll put him at 3 right now behind Jones and Aspinall in my heavyweight pound for pound rankings hierarchy or whatever. Oh man, though, guys, Ngannou just feels like the one that got away. He was just such an anomaly, such a fun guy when he was in the UFC, and just he has the look, the story, everything, and just it sucks that I don't want to say wasted because he made a ridiculous amount of money, more money than he could ever make in the UFC. But just as fans, I'd much rather have him stayed in the UFC. But he did what he did. He's a businessman.
It
facts.
was
I
a
can't.
shame. It was a darn shame,
It is
honestly.
a shame, but I can't fault him. He said like he said, my legacy is the money I leave for my kids and shit. Like you know what I mean? Like fuck what you guys think, and I mean that's ultimately if you're gonna say that, then like how he's operated definitely reflects that. You know what I mean? I just think that like you can kind of unfortunately as an MMA fighter, you have two paths. Do you chase money or do you chase glory and like potentially less money, but potentially a fuck ton of money if you're actually who you think you are, you know? Um and can also market yourself as well, like to be honest, because you can be a great champion, but like if you're not marketable, your paychecks are not gonna be that fucking fat. So I mean, and I think that he, kind of got a little bit of both, but like he did leave a lot of glory on the table. You can't really say claim you're the best in the world when you're fighting scrubs,
Facts, facts.
but you're making a boatload of money doing it. So if that's what he values, which seemingly it is, um, like fuck yeah, more power to him. I can't fault him for that shit.
Anything else on MVP MMA one, guys? Before we wrap it up.
Keep doing their thing, man. I would like to see this become something. And it's not really, I'm not really one of these guys that like overly gives a fuck about, oh, there needs to be competition to the UFC or whatever, whatever. Um, but I just like, I'm an MMA fan and like more MMA is always good. I did enjoy a lot of watching Bellator back in the day. They had a lot of scraps over there that like casual UFC fans never saw and some high level fights and shit. And like I watch one sometimes, I watch these other promotions. Like I'm just a fight fan. I watch all kinds of shit. So more MMA is not a bad thing. More fighters getting paid better. Like none of these are bad things. I would like to see, some actual talent when I'm watching these fights and not like just, can crushes and fucking slug outs necessarily, but I mean, in due time, in due time.
All right. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Please go check out the TikTok, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.